Hello, welcome to my training, and this time I'm going to be on the board. I'm going to do some endgames, and let's go. So the first example is this one. I'm doing some exercises as well. I'm going to also do some examples from the book. Let me see if it's visible. Yeah, it is. Okay. So this is the game Taimana Fisher, and Black manages to make a draw by playing bishop d6, king d5, bishop e7, and now he just keeps an eye on b4. Bishop d4, bishop b4, king c4, bishop a5. So in case of this, do not allow bishop c5 and allowing progress. So bishop a5, bishop c3, bishop d8. And now the pawn goes forwards, but king f4. Aha! He goes from behind. b5, king e4, bishop d4, bishop c7, king c5, king d3, and now he wants to achieve to get behind the king. King d3, king c6, and now king c4, and that's it. Now you achieve this position, and you cannot kick the bishop from c7. If bishop b6 is played, and now just bishop f4, bishop a7, and now again bishop c7, and it's a draw. The only way you can move the king is to take or go king b6, but in case of... Okay, what happens if this bishop d8? Well, you have this, and you always control b6. So that's the first example. The second one, let's check it. The second one is the whole game. Let's arrange pieces and we'll see. Okay, so this was Vallejo pawns against Magnus. This Philidor. Let me just check if the board is visible. Yeah, it's pretty visible. Let's go. This, and now this endgame variation. This one, bishop g5, bishop e6, castles, knight d7. This one, king e7. That's all normal, and now takes. So black has a bishop pair, but white has a bishop pair, but black is quite solid. He has more pawns in the center, and that's really the compensation he has. So white plays this, rook h d8, knight d2, and now h6 here and g5. Now the bishop gets a bit stuck. Bishop g3 and now a6. And now black wants to force white to capture on d7 and to have opposite color bishops. Which always amplifies the advantage of the side who has initiative. So now bishop d7 was played, but bishop e2 was better to avoid this. But probably he was trying to stop d5. So by capturing, rook takes, now f3. And it mentions here after h4, knight h5. Let's visualize a bit. h4, knight h5, knight f1, g4, knight e3, and black can grab space by b5. And it's about equal. Okay, so f3 was played. Now rook c8, king b1, knight h5, knight f1, and now f5. So black now wants to make these pawns the only central pawns by forcing ef5 maybe. And if he doesn't take, if white doesn't take, then he makes a weakness on e4 and then returns back to f6, and it's quite unpleasant. So white took, bishop f5, and now knight e3, bishop g6. And now we have these hanging pawns, but they're also central pawns, only central pawns, and this could be both weakness and strength. Let's see what happened. Rook d2, king e6, and now b3. So he wants to make a loft for the king, king b2, but also weakens the dark squares. And that's why b5 is played now, to maybe fix with b4. Or to fix, to not allow c4. Maybe b4 is just too committal at the moment. Just b5 at the moment and keep it there. Now d5. Yeah, stopping this c4 once and for all. What now? Rook e1, and now takes on g3. hg, and now h5. So it's stopping g4 because in case of g4 you have h4 and you might weaken the f3 pawn after h3 next. If you imagine g4, h4, some rook h8, push h3, weaken the f3. So black doesn't want that. He plays c3. So probably he was afraid of some fixation with b4. And then maybe rook c3, and at some point g4 would be unpleasant. Maybe something like rook c3, d4, but not immediately because there's always this. But once you push, how would you be able to stop knight c4, or just to secure e5? Maybe just, you don't have to, maybe you can, maybe bishop f7, king f6, and then d4 to stop knight c4. But here white plays c3. So what happens now? So it says here white is solid, black has improved his position tremendously, but now it's time for the next step, and that next step is d4. Which seems to me a bit insane, because your king is on the same file as the rook, and you have to calculate lots of checks, but he was sure that none of these checks were too dangerous. And now white took, and this check. Can you give a check on c4? Ah, but then king f6, knight a3 to stop rook c2, and the d pawn is just very strong. And the knight is just stuck here, because how do you even get out without allowing rook c2? Rook e2, but I can fix you with g4 or something else, like king f5 first. No, not king f5. King f5. Well, even d3 works. Maybe d3, and if rook d2, then you just enter with the king. And now you don't mind if he goes back, because you have king d4 and you enter, and it's complete disaster. So we had this position. King was on e6. Let me check it. Yeah, it was this. So knight c2, king d5, and now knight b4, king d6. Now what happens if you lose the a6 pawn? Well, the quality of this d pawn is just deciding, because if you do this, I guess you have d3, and in case of rook d2 or rook f2, whatever, now the king just enters and the c file is completely blocking the king. I mean, white has a passed pawn here potentially, but good luck with that. That's too slow. Just we have king d4, king e3 next, and you cannot do much. Okay, so knight a6 is just way too slow. This way. Wait. Here, rook was on e1. Uh-huh. Okay. Doesn't matter. Well, it does maybe, but maybe it does, because Now you don't have... but now if you take, it changes, because now you have this check, take on g2, and then push the pawn. It's even worse. Okay, so you have to keep this knight on b4 to save against rook c2. So now rook c1 is played, which is a mistake. But what's the best move here? Apparently they say that it's maybe not possible to hold at this point. So the mistake was somewhere at move 20 maybe, or 16, I don't know. They did not tell where was the main mistake, but after rook c1, it looks like the exchange can favor white, because you might think that okay, I can manage some blockade on d3 in the end, but actually these pawns on the light squares seem quite suspect, sus. So black takes, king takes, and now h4. Also a5, and this is very good for black. The knight is just too passive, and I think you might... all the pawns are on the light squares, which doesn't suit white. But you cannot transfer into a pawn endgame. That's not possible. But you can, on king d2, you may go for g4 at some point, or just h4. Maybe h4 actually. h4, and then to free the... let's imagine this, and now the king enters somehow, and the h pawn decides the game. Yeah, that's the dream. But what was the position? This one. Like this. And now he plays h4. And now if king d2, you take on g3, knight a6, and g4. Uncovering the g2 pawn. If white takes, bishop e4, and he takes on g2, and the g pawn becomes a queen. So white took, and now knight a6. So now let's just go back. So now these endgames, these pawn endgames are lost, because black has a path towards g2, and he can let the f pawn to run because the h pawn is already so far advanced. So let's imagine this, king e5, knight d3, I can take it, I guess. Go here, and go king g3. And if you push, I take, go back. Let's say I make a move. This one, and promotion happens on time. So was this the position? Bishop f5. Wait, where was the bishop? Bishop was on f5, right? On g6. Okay, now white takes. And now bishop d3 to get to f1, to take this one and to make the h pawn passed pawn. But also king e5 is winning, going towards the g2 pawn. But he went for this. Knight b4, bishop f1, now king d2 and bishop g2. Okay, king e2, and now bishop h3. Aha, so you don't want to trap yourself immediately with h3, because after king f2 the knight holds the pawn, and this construction is very much stuck. And when the knight comes to d3, you push the pawn, and you can also push the f pawn as well. But you can just hold it like this forever. Yeah, you can just shuffle like this, knight b4, knight d3, and the bishop cannot move. And the king doesn't have any squares to enter. So that's quite funny. So after this, bishop h3 was played, trying to get the bishop maybe to f5 and then to push the pawn, because you have two passed pawns and you can do something about it. a4, now bishop f5, you don't care about the pawn. ab, d3, and luckily the promotion square is the same color as the bishop, so lucky black. This one, h3, knight d3, and then take. Then you go back, pick up all the pawns, and it's pretty much over. Aha, now they mention what's the best way to go. So okay, this final position is white pointless, lost. So let's go back to this position before the trade of rooks. So it was this one, this, bishop g6, rook c8, and rook was on e1. So white played rook c1 and he lost. Rook d1 was better, and now black has a couple of options maybe. First one is a5. And now if he takes, because what else? If you do this, you give time to black to recover, and he has the same problems. He might go even rook e8 next with rook e2. So a5, rook d4, king e5, and now rook d8. Rook d8, and what happens if you move the rook? Then knight d3, and you're just a pawn up. So He has to take it and to claim that he can just get the bishop to capture the pawns. Knight c6 and now king d5. Aha, now he's trying to somehow limit the knight, to not allow to escape. Okay, now h4. And now if gh, there is an issue with this, because after that happens, there's bishop h5 and capturing the pawn, and then the h pawn will run. So white cannot do that, and the best choice here is king c3. So when he takes, to get closer with the king. And now a4 takes, a3, king c4, knight e6, king b3, king e3, and now king a3. So now what? You want to take this pawn and then exchange, or what? Knight c5, king b4, takes, f4. Now you cannot capture because you lose the g3 pawn, so you play g4, king d4, king b5, king e5, bishop d3, f5, king c6, king f4, bishop e2, king g3, king d6, here, here, and here. So what do we have here? We have a pawn endgame basically, with the bishop stuck defending this pawn, and you can't make a progress because let's imagine I play this, you go f6. If you go to e6, I go king g6 and I go up, and you're even lost. If you just move, I move here. And now, once you push the pawn, I go down and collect the pawn. So, if bishop e2, king g5, and we have pretty much stalemate. But you cannot do this. You cannot... I mean, you can go king g6. I wanted to say this and bishop f3, but you just go back and king f4, take the pawn. Okay, so this was a draw. This variation is a draw. Let's see the next one. Okay, so let me just set up this position once again. This is a bit old school, but I think it's the most efficient way of working on chess. This? No, king e6 was there. Right? No, king d6. Yeah. And this one. So they mention here that more challenging is king e5. And now you cannot capture because of rook c2 and losing the pawn, so what happens now? Rook e1 is bad because of king f6, and then the king is in trouble, giving another check on d5 will leave c2 dangerously underprotected, blah blah blah. Okay, let's check this one first. If rook e1, king f6, knight d5, king f7. Oh no, sorry, no. Rook e2 first. a5, knight d5, king f7, and white is in grave danger. So black wants to play d3 and then king e6 and penetrate towards here, but if white tries this, king f8, rook c7, then rook e8. Now rook e2 comes next, and that's it, folks. So yeah, after this, so what's the better move? Rook c1 maybe? So when I go here, rook c1, takes, king d6, and now takes on a6. If he goes king d2, a5, knight d3, bishop f5. Capturing is just a draw. So king e2, a4. If you don't do anything, king d2, h4, takes, knight b4, bishop g6, king e2, a3. So you fix those pawns on the light squares and want to go bishop f1 at some point. Okay, that's nice. And also you have ideas with king e5, king f4, king g3, attacking this pawn chain. Okay, so what happens if I... Okay, let's check out what happens if ba4 happens. Takes, a3, king d5. Now you enter this way. King d2, bishop g6, f4, and then g4. And now you just hang this pawn. This one, bishop f3, and now you have two passers for this one. King f2, bishop e4, knight b2, bishop f5, king e2, bishop c8. This one, bishop a6. Now you cut off the knight. Knight d1. Oh wait, I missed some moves. Knight a4, bishop b5. Here, king e4. a4, bishop a6, and yeah, this is just hopeless. Now you play h4 next, and now you have g3, d3. Just crush it. Okay, let's go back a bit. wait. This was the way. Knight a6 was the best. We saw king d2. Bishop d3, now bishop f1 next. Knight b4, bishop f1, knight c2. So if you do king d2, bishop g2, king e2, h4, takes, king f2, and then bishop h3 like in the game. Bishop h3, bishop f5, and then push both pawns. Okay, knight c2, king d5. So it's important to keep this pawn alive. Knight e1 and now h4. You cannot capture like this because of bishop g2 in the end. And the h pawn runs. So you have to go king d2. But wait, now if I go bishop g2, I take on h4. I take on h4, take, and I have a fork. Like this, take it, and go knight f4, take the pawn. So after this, if b4, then knight d3 is a draw. King c6. Why? King c6. Okay, just take, knight d3, bishop g2, king e2, and make a draw. But if you go here now, like in the game, then you have this maneuver and you take on h4. So you go here, I go there. I can also repeat moves, but I think this is more accurate. Wait, there's this king c3. Maybe I should go like this. But still, I'm not sure about king c3. Is this winning, or maybe I can push or just take, liquidate? Yeah, I think you're pushing too much if you go for this. Knight f4, d2. What is that? Knight f4, d2, b6. No, just give some checks. Knight f4, d2. But you don't have any any threats. I can go b6. You cannot go here on bishop c2. So you have to go back. And then go for this maybe. Go for this. But the h pawn is running, so I'm not so sure. Knight d5, king. Well, even king b3 works, I guess, because the h pawn is too fast. I messed up somewhere, and I don't know. Okay, let's make it here. So this is the final position, and bishop h3. So I told this knight g6, but after this, maybe king d2. What am I even talking about? King d2, and you lose the h pawn. If you go here, I take it. I go here, take the pawn, and I should hold it, but my knight has no way home. Like this way, maybe f4. And then go a longer way home. The d4 pawn is not a problem, it's gonna fall anyways. And also I might push my f pawn. So that should be the good answer. Okay, let's see one more example before I go to exercises. This is the position. Rook endgame, 3 against 2, easy draw, right? Well, it's not. King e8 was the best, but black plays here f5. After king e8, you just sit and wait. After king e8, just do this, and you wait for him to push any of the pawns, and then take on e3. If f5, then even this one works, but you can take as well. So f5, king e5, and now after this, king f6. And now king g8. King g8. If king e8, then rook e7, d5. and that wins fairly easily. So it goes to g8, and now rook g7. But the best, a better choice was this and king f7. And now the king is completely cut off. Now you can just transfer the rook to the h file by rook c1, rook h1, and finish the game. The king cannot go to h6 because of checkmate, and that's supposed to be it. Rook e2, rook c3, rook h2, and now you take on e6, and the f pawn hangs as well. Also, you don't have to capture, you can just push the pawn. But okay, never mind. Rook g7 in the game, king f8, rook h7, rook g8. And now rook h1. A mistake. Also, rook e7 is a mistake because of rook e4. And you choose between d4 and f4. So the better move was rook g7 again. And then just wait. No, rook is on e3. So if he goes back, then you repeat and give a check, king f7 and all that stuff. But yeah, because rook e4 is now impossible because of king g6. But here he plays this, rook e4, and now rook d1. Now king f8 is fine, rook f4 is fine as well. But he goes king h7. And now king f7 for sure. Yeah. Checkmate. One more example. One more and one more. This one. Okay, we have no, rook doesn't exist. So we have this position, bishop and knight versus rook. And yeah, only white can win this for sure. What he blundered, wow. He played g4 in this position. And now h4, and it seems like g5 pawn is doomed. Because you can just go bishop d2, knight g1, knight h3, attack the g5 pawn, and then the pawn endgame seems winning. But after knight g1, rook c5, bishop d2, rook c2, king e2, rook a2, knight h3, king g6. Now you cannot capture on g5. I mean, you can, but after this he takes on d2, takes king g5, and funnily enough this endgame is a draw. King e3, and now king f6 is a draw because you cannot make progress. It's just important to notice that when you get to h3 you need to be on g5. Blah. You need to be on g5 to, because if black is to move now, then he takes on h4 and it's over. But so after king e3, yeah, h3 is a big mistake because after king f2, king h4, king g1, now you're lost because you can get triangulated. After king g5, you don't go here straight away because he has king h4, but you just go king h1 first. You lose a tempo, and now when he goes down or to f4, then king h2 is winning, and you win the h pawn and then the game. But he doesn't push he doesn't have to push the pawn. He plays king f6, and now you cannot make progress because if you push now, then there is h3. If you take king f3 here takes here, and this is a draw. Okay, so let's go to pawn endgames exclusively. Let me see. Okay, we have this position. Oh wait, let me see if it's the whole game or... Aha, it's the whole game. Okay. Okay, let's adjust and we can begin. We have this. Bishop b5, knight f6, Berlin. Oof. Torture. Knight d6. Oh, but now this move. Bishop g5, bishop e7, takes. And now bishop c6. Oh. Bishop c6, dc, d5, knight f5, knight c3, castle, queen d3. So probably we get pawn endgame with this structure, with the extra pawn on the king side. This, queen e4, knight h6, h3, bishop f5, queen e2, bishop g6, rook a d1, knight f5, queen c4, h6, now this and to get to f4. Rook fe1 and then takes. Rook d8. Takes, knight f4. Knight h4. And then this to exchange even more. And now queen d3. But this time it's not really a typical 3 against 4 on this side. When you exchange queens now this is much different. And now the king gets closer. Here, king f5, king f2, king e6, and now he gets to d5. And now who knows? d4, and now it says that a5 holds. But black plays this and white plays king d3, which is also a mistake. b4 is the best. b4. But does it mention the whole variation of b4? No. Maybe later. Maybe later. Oh, there are plenty of other examples, so I might not finish this on time. Maybe tomorrow I'll do some exercise and on the pawn endgames. But today it might be just going through examples. Okay, where was I? King d3. And now h5 by black. Again a mistake. Better was to play a5, to not allow... I guess a5 is played because you want to limit white's tempi on the queen side. You want to stop b4, and which kind of fixes the pawn structure on the queen side. So after a5, let's see what they say. There's g4 and there's b3. Okay, let's go for g4 first. g4 and then c5. But why not c5 immediately? I don't get it. c5, dc5, and then g5. Undermination. But now c6 is interesting. Wow. b6 and then king e3. a4, king f3. You just wait. b5. b5. Wait, if king d4, king g3, king e4, then takes e6 and then h4, and the g pawn is a passed pawn, which is quite nice. Okay, so b5, a3 to stop this expansion, but now you take king e4, king c5, king f5, king d5, and then run, boy, run. Wait, e6, fe, king f4. b4, g5, c4, and then c3. And it's a draw. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's set the position back to the previous stage. So a5, and now let's talk about b3. Now c5 and takes king e4, king c6, and now here they mention f5 and g4. Let's see, g4, king d7, f5, g5, king d5, c6, king c5, king c7, and you have some kind of blockade. You go b6 next and it's pretty much unbreakable. Okay, so f5 is critical, but you can take, and now king d5 to somehow get these pawns to run. g4, b5, h4, c5, h4, h5, c4, and then there's the race. Queen f1, king g5, and now this move, king e4. So what happens? We give a check, take this, queen e3, b4. Well, I would need hours and hours to analyze this queen endgame, but we'll do it some other time. This and queen c2. White has some chances to win, but objectively it's supposed to be equal. Yeah, but I think white wins this in practical game. But never mind, just go back. Okay, here h5 is played and that's losing. Now g4. Also here b4 is winning. Let's see that. If a6, g4 takes, king e6, king e4, king e7, f5, g5, a3. And then you push d5 and white wins. Wait, let me visualize this. a6, g4 takes, king e6, king e4, king e7, f5, g5, a3, and once he plays some stupid move, b6, then d5. And how is this winning actually? Takes, The king is on e7. So you can fix the pawns by b5 next. But why don't you play... wait. g4 takes. King e6, king e4, king d7, f5. Is even worse, it says, but why? f5, g5? Okay, let's put this on the board and let's see. King e4, and it says here this is even worse. Wait. So you just wait like this. I fix you. And after this, d5. And now if this, king d7, b5, and now you have these two pawns held by this one. Okay, that's enough. Okay, so let's see, b4, b6. We looked at a6, but let's look at this one first. Second, third. This one takes, and now c5. Wait, take, king c5, king e4, and now we push this pawn. And black is doomed. Because he has to push these pawns on the queen side, and once he pushes them, then king gets some space. Let's say c6 here. If you take, let's say. Now, this one, I go e6. And you take, and now you have to choose. Do you push the pawn? Which also leaves me with this. And... oh, wait. Is this... did I mess up somehow? No. Oh, but I did. Wait a sec. This one... No, you don't pull the trigger just yet. You just push the pawn until... yeah, you just do this. King c7, a3, king d7, a4, and you slowly push it. Maybe you don't push right here, but... no, at some point you push and go here. But still, it's not easy. No. Wait. I'm so stupid. It can't be that hard. So this was the final position. King d5. And okay, let's try this. c6 here. Here, no, I go here. What am I doing? I go here and to a5. Why am I trying to sacrifice this pawn for this a pawn to be nothing? Just go here, wait for him to push, and then collect it. Because if I go here, then there's this. that's the end. So yeah, b4 wins, for sure. With small hiccups, but wins. FIDE master can't win the pawn endgame, the basic pawn endgame. Clip it. Okay, we have this one, and g4 was played in the game. g4, and what do we do? He took and went for a5. f5. Now there's a small trick here. Wait. I mixed up pages. f5, g5. So what happens if I take this and go c5? e6 takes f6, and then this, king c3, king d6 takes king d7, and now you go from behind. That sounds wrong. King e8, king e4 here, and king e5. b5, a3, a4, and then d5, and you collect all these pawns. This one I know how to win, I guess, so I'm not gonna show it to embarrass myself. Okay, so let's see. How did the game finish? This one. So we had g4 like this, takes, a6, a5, f5, g5. And now b3. And also a4 is winning. a4, b6, b3, c5, e6 takes, f6 takes. You have double pawns and you're doomed. Okay, so b3 now, b6, and now a3 to keep it flexible. If b5, e6 takes, f6, king d6, king e4, and white wins. Okay, then that's why c5, and after this f6, king d6. Now you take. Now these pawns are just ridiculous. King e4, king d7. If c6, a4, and you lose. c4, bc4, c5, f7, king e7, king e5, and then you enter to d6, take it, and it's over. In the game, king d7 was played, and now king e5, after which black resigned, because if he goes for c6, there's a4, I guess. Yes. And then after this, take it, c5, take it. No, this one, this way. take this one, leave this one alone, and just promote. Okay, so what happens? Okay, let's check out this endgame. Oops. It's black to move, and black played f3, and they just promote both to queens, and it finished in a draw. But actually black is winning here. After king e7. Or is it? Is he? This one. Yeah. He is. Tap, tap, tap. You take the e5, you take the h5, and it's over. Also, let's do this basic endgame. So now we have diagonal position: king d5, king e5, king f7 here, king f8, king e6, king g7, and we slowly but surely capture the pawn. This, take it. Let's see what happens now. How can I win this? And this one wins. Okay, so maybe the angle of the board is not the best, but the angle of the camera, maybe sometimes pieces get shadowed. Like in this case, the pawn on g7 is not visible so much. But you know what I played. Also, this endgame is very interesting. It's white to move, and they play king e4. Not king e5 to allow knight g4. This one. And now knight f7 was played, and now they entered the same endgame from before. After this, king d5, and black resigned. Okay, so let's check out let's do some exercise. There is 6 examples, and I'm gonna check out the solutions later on. Okay, so the first one is this one. Let's put this one on the board, and let's see. And now all visualization. This one. White to move makes a draw. White to move makes a draw. Now I have to react. Do I capture like this? Do I take on f4 at all? If if I take on f4 and he takes back, I go e4 and create a passed pawn. But if I take on f4 and he plays e4, now he's gonna make a hole in the position because king takes, fe, king takes, and now he's gonna enter and capture my pawn, which makes two split passed pawns, which I cannot hold as white. So I actually want to achieve, well, I have to show it now. I want to achieve this position. And I might do it just by playing e4 and then capturing on f4, because that's how I'm sure that the h4 pawn is safe and I have passed pawns. So I think it's just e4 and then take on f4. If I take with the e pawn, he takes back and my pawns become quite weak. Take on f4. Take on f4, king e6. Here king f5, king d3 takes. I can go to g3, take on h4, and the h pawn is running. So I think that's the solution, e4 and then capturing on f4, and I don't see a better way. Okay, what is the next one? This. It's black to move and he makes a draw. So I guess that chasing the pawn doesn't work, because then the king comes from behind and king f4, king g6, king f3, king g5, takes, take on h4, go king g5 and then push the pawn. So also if I go to h6, king f6, and he'll slowly capture my pawn on h4. King h5, king f5, king h6, king g4, and then take on h4. So that leaves me with only one option, king f5, and then to just keep the opposition. King f5, king g7, king g5, king h7, and now because of stalemate, I can go king h5, because if f4, then I cannot move the king and it's a draw. So it's king f5, but is there some trick? Maybe f3, and then I go king f3, king f4, king g6, and then I even win. So I don't see how it's possible to escape this. King f5, king e7, king e5, king d7, king d5, and you might at some point want to go let's say king f5, king e7, king e5, king d7. Now you might want to go king f4, king e6, king f3, king f5 here, king g4, king e3 takes, king f4, and you're on time to cage the king. So I think that's pretty reasonable. Okay, so let's go next one, next puzzle, next whatever, study position. Okay, I've seen this one before, something similar at least. So the point is to calculate how many moves do you have. If I go f4 immediately, white to move, wins. f4, king e8. f4, king e8. Wait. f4, king g8, because if you go to e8, there's king g7 anyways. So f4, king g8. If king e7, then... no, wait. I mixed up something. Wait. Let's go first with f3. f3. I feel like both moves win. Don't know why. Maybe on f3 g5 is there. And when I push f4 there's no g5. Wait, f3, g5, king takes, king g7. No, this is supposed to be winning. No, it's winning. f4, king e8, king g7. King e7, f5, takes, and it's lost. f3, king g8, f4, king f8. You cannot do that. You must go with king somewhere. So f3. But I don't see the difference between f3 and f4 so far. f3, king e8, king g7. No, wait. I think both moves win. I think I'm gonna go with that. f4, king g8, king e7, king g7, f5. And if g5, king e8, king g8, f6. Yeah, let's go for this. Okay, now this one. White to move wins. If I go to chase the pawn, king f3, king g5. king e4, king g4 takes, king g3, king e5, king f3, d4, g5, and promotion is simultaneous, right? King f3, king g5, king e4, king g4. Here takes, king e5, king f3. If he goes for the g pawn, I go for the d. So d4, g5, and we have queens on d8 and g1, and he cannot exchange queens. So it's supposed to be a draw. Well, even if he does, I think you cannot win it. So maybe I should play g4 first. G4, and then if king g5, king g3, king f6, or just include a4, a3, let's say. King f6, king f4, and if king e6, king e4, here, king g5, here, and now it's not the same because after king g4 I push and your king is in front of the pawn and you're just lacking one move. So I think it's just g4 and g4, king g7. Let's see that. King f3, king f6, and then king f4. If king f7, then king e4. And in case of king f6 to go... Well, that's stupid. No, why would I do that? No, I can do something like... No, g4, king g7, king f3, king f6, king f4. If king f7, I just go king e4, capture it quicker, and I finish it. Okay, what is this one? Next one. Okay, we have this position, and what's happening over there? What happens if I take? If I take king e4, b5, maybe just if I take on c6, for example, king e4, king d6, this, push here, push here, push, queen, and then how do I continue? If I take on a6, there is a danger of promotion with check, and I don't like that. So king c6, king e4, king d6, f4, c6, f3, c7, f2, queen, queen, and then maybe I need to take on a6 and then go b5, but Now if I take on a6, king e4, b5, f4, bc6, f3, c7, f2, c8, queen, queen, king b6, king d4. I might win this, but it's not so clear. The c pawn is quite dangerous, so I might consider it. Because other cases, I don't capture the pawn, this pawn. If I take on c6, for example, we have the same promotion, but we don't have a best pawn as white. So maybe king a6 is the best choice there is. So if king c6, king e4, king d6, I have to lose time on that. f4, c6, f3, c7, f2, c8 queen, f1 queen defends the pawn, and I have nothing. I might even lose because the d pawn is weak. But in case of this capture, then we have king e4, b5, f4 takes, f3, c7, f2 queen, queen, and also we have the c pawn as reserve. So this might be it. Might be. Okay, let's go to the next one, and after that I'm checking the results if I'm right or wrong. So this one, black to move, has to make a draw. Okay, what happens if I take? If I take and then go f6. So I have to imagine the scenario when all these pawns are gone and the king just tries to capture my pawn, but I want to play a3 at some point and then to run with the king to the corner, but not to allow king to shoulder me on the 7th rank. So I take on g5, takes, king h7, king f6, king h6, king f7, king h5, and then king e6, king g6, king d5, king f7, king c5. I'm not on time. a3, and then just he gets to b7 in time. Okay, let's see what else. Takes, king h7. After the pawns are gone, he wants to go from this side, not from this side, because he's not closer to the b7. And this is the same path towards the a4, the same amount of moves. But also it has double agenda. First one is to capture and second one is to shoulder. So how to avoid this? What if I go king h7 first? Oh, no moves on the board. King h7, and then if he takes. Oh, I might be right. And then we have some path like from this side, not from this side. So king h7, if king f6 takes king g7, and if king f5, king h6, and if king f6 take king f7, and then we have this race. And then I get to c2 once he's on b4. He takes, I take the pawn, and that's over. In the case I took on g5 immediately, that's different, because after king g5, f6 here, king h6 here, king h5, now I'm getting shouldered. And I don't get on time on to c2 because the b4 pawn starts, the b pawn starts running. So I think it's king h7 first, and then you want to achieve actually this position with white to move, not black. So just to show small detail, after this you want to do this and king g7, and not this. That's my understanding. I could be wrong, but let's check it. Let's check from the 6th, and then I can finish the video. And then let me know what you think about this angle of real board. I mean, the whole approach. So the 6th one was king h7, nice. And after this, takes king g7. Okay, king f5, king h6, here, 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 and king g4. And then you get to b2, like I said. Okay, that's nice. Number 5. Number 5 was this one. The race, and let's see what it says. King c6 is a mistake. After this, king e4, king b6, f4, c6, f3, queens, queen a6, queen f8. Why draws this one? Why did I go king d6? This was much better. Eventually you take on a6, so I was a bit wrong there. But king a6 was so after this, king e4, king b6, f4, c6, this, queen a6, queen f8, b5, this check. This, and you just make a draw. Okay, so after this, so king a6 is the correct move, but let's see why. b5, f4, bc, f3, c7. Queen, king a7. Not king b6. Okay. King d4 and then c6. queen c4, queen a6, queen c3, king b7, and then start pushing the pawn. Okay, that's nice. Let's go to number 4. This. Aha, the one with g4, which I mentioned. So, number 4, king f3 is a mistake because king g5, king e4, this, white won the a pawn in the ensuing ending, but it was not enough. The game was drawn. So g4 is the best move, and after this you include this, king f6, king f4, and white wins. Yeah. Number 3. Yeah, this one was a bit confusing to me. I couldn't quite figure it out because it seemed like both f4 and f3 were winning. I don't know. Let's check it out. F3 leads to a draw. Wait, what? Oh, I forgot about king e7, king e6. So f3, king e8. Okay, f4 makes a draw, but what about this? King e6, right? No, just go down. Oh yeah, that was stupid. And then if f5, then take and go king e7. And now we have to go here, but king f6 makes a draw, wins the pawn. Okay, yeah, that was just ridiculous. So yeah, f4 and king g8, king e7, and then f5. And once this happens, it's Zugzwang f6. If this happens again, king g7 and f5 wins. Okay, one mistake. One mistake. I can live with that. The second one was the one with the pawns like this. So king f5 I stalled, and now king g7, here, king h5, f4 stalemate, king g8, king g6, just follow it. Here, yeah. And the last one, the first one, is this one, and gf4 is a huge mistake because of e4, like I told. Yep, this one, and you just collect the h pawn, and then you have both pawns running, king c2, king f5, and you get to g4. So actually here the best is to go e4, and after this to take and after this king c2, there is no way that you can get to h4. So that's basically it. I think I'm gonna make videos smaller and smaller, like around 2 hours at most. I think that way it's gonna be the best. Thank you so much for watching this, and let me know what you think about this OTB approach. See you soon and bye.